I clearly remember the final mission I had completed, and the man's name was Vincent Clifton. I remember what he looked like, both before and after I had ripped his still beating heart out of his chest, and the metallic smell of his blood from the years of smoking cigarettes wafted to my nose. In return for the scent of his blood, I wanted to take all of it for myself, even though I knew my boss required it. This time, it seemed different from the rest, and I knew Aura, the other facet of my personality, was becoming active. She lifted the heart to our mouth and began to bite into it until a hand landed on her shoulder. She looked up to find Nathaniel, and I told her, "Give him the heart." Ara handed it to him, and he pushed it away. Nathaniel started reaching for her other hand, but she moved it away from him. He smiled at her crookedly and asked, "What happened? Don't you trust me? I don't want to hurt you." Ara ran her eyes over his body, feeling disgusted as she cringed, and said, "I doubt your intentions. I know what you do to the ones you managed to catch trying to drink the blood from your family's hearts." Nathaniel leaned his head sideways. His grin widened as he shrugged, taking her words as a challenge, and said, "Oh, darn, you caught me. Okay, here's the thing. You belong to no..." Ara rolled her purple eyes as her blonde hair blew across her face and responded, "Yes, I do remember. But I doubt it would stop you from doing what you want to do." Nathaniel's vibrant blue eyes lit up and said, "No, I would be turned on while watching you drink blood." Ara quickly got up and turned around. "If you haven't guessed, my name is Elena." I am 12 years old. You haven't gotten introduced to the other main characters of this story. So the first of them is our villain, Nathaniel Sexton. Nathaniel is 14 years old. His father is our leader, and the Sextons are known to be immortals. They are full-blooded vampires, and they are differentiated mainly by their eye color. We don't understand why the drugs transformed us differently based on eye color, but it does. Moreover, I have a crush on Nathaniel. Although I am acting coldly at the moment, usually I am nice to him. Let's continue the story. Ara started to walk away when Nathaniel reached for my arm, grabbed it, stopped me from leaving, and said, "I know I was a jerk to you, but I have a message from my dad for you." Ara turned around, looked at him, and crossed her arms. Nathaniel pulled her towards him, and when he felt she was close enough, he let her go and placed a hand against her cheek. Ara, feeling annoyed by the expression on his face, allowed me to take over. I looked at him and smiled. He bent down and looked into my eyes, then he smiled back. I looked at him with a confused expression as his actions seemed different. He abruptly realized I was worried and stood up and said, "Sorry, I needed to make sure you still had your humanity left or not. Our fathers would kill me if I couldn't stop her from drinking the blood in time." Then Ara balled my fist and swung my arm towards his face, but Nathaniel dodged it in time. I looked at him, covered my mouth, and said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't do it. It was art." Nathaniel's eyes narrowed as he began to laugh, leaned over and held his stomach, and exclaimed, "You need to teach me that trick." "So, what did you want to tell me?" I asked as I placed my hands behind my head and smiled. He let a breath escape from his lips as a worried look got etched on his face before he said, "My father wants to see you at his office at 2 in the afternoon tomorrow." I looked at him curiously as I placed my hands against my hips and asked him the reason for it. Nathaniel looked down towards the ground and shrugged while he said, "To be honest, I don't know." I looked at him and walked towards the heart dropped by Ara. When I leaned down, I felt Nathaniel staring at me. I then picked it off the ground, threw it into the nearby dumpster, and looked back at Nathaniel. He asked, "Why did you throw it away?" I turned around to look at him and retorted, "You took forever to talk, and it stopped. So now you can tell your father about this and tell him I will see him tomorrow at his office at 2 in the afternoon." He raised his arm as if surrendering and said, "All right, but I won't tell him about finding you with the heart and losing it." I looked at him feeling confused and replied, "You wouldn't have gotten any blood from it, and it would have been useless for you and your father." Nathaniel let out a breath as he crossed his arms over his chest and announced, "I don't care." I looked at Nathaniel and said, "Okay, well, bye." Nathaniel walked towards me with his hand held out as if asking me to give him my hand. When I didn't extend my hand, he grabbed one of them and kissed it. He said, "One day you will be mine." He leaned in closer, and his lips were just inches from mine. His actions and words made my heart beat quicken. I stumbled back, but caught myself in time. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath to compose myself. I should be used to this by now. I behave in this way every time he is around me. What could I say in my favor? He is hot, and I have have an intense crush on him. I am often attracted to older guys, especially those possessing power similar to Nathaniel, but future incidences might destroy anything which might happen between Nathaniel and me. Then I looked back at him, turned around, and said, well, now I need to go. Nathaniel smiled sarcastically at me and asked, why are you so frustrated? I stuttered. I am stammering about what to say to someone who could catch a lie in a second. I finally said, I am not frustrated, but I have to go now. Then I turned around and started walking away. I heard him laughing as he said, really? What do you mean? I could feel him watching me walk away, his blue eyes piercing my head as he said, hey, wait a minute. You need to explain to me what you mean. I started laughing as I stopped in my tracks. I quickly turned around, looked at Nathaniel, and said, it's a secret. Nathaniel crossed his arms, tapped a finger on his cheek as if deep in thought, and probed further. Oh, come on. It can be our little secret. He then started coming closer to me. I grinned while watching him move closer to me and said, okay, I will tell you. Nathaniel grinned widely at me as he felt excited to hear what I was trying to keep a secret from him and said, you will? So tell me. He then grabbed a chair next to the dumpster, placed it right in front of me, and sat on it. Then I smiled at Nathaniel. While walking around the chair, I raised my hands, making the chair raise off the ground, and said, flip super salem. The chair fell back with him on it, and I quickly walked back home and left him on the ground.